can you tell us how and why you got started in the labor movement? Let's go with Chastity. We'll start with Chastity.
Okay. How and why I got started in the labor movement. I came to Council 20 as a temp employee, and I didn't have any clue about what it was that the council did. I just was a very young teenager looking for a job. Um, and then I got there and I learned what we do, and our mission lined up with my value system, and I decided to stay.
Antoinette?
Um, I was at DC Public Library, and I was in about my 5th year of employment, and I was going to union. I started to go to the union meeting, and they came up with elections, and they were trying to get officers. And I looked around, and I thought, okay, I can do this, you know. And I put my name in to run for office. And from that point on, I served for 17 years as the president of the DC Public Library, AFSCME Local 1808. So I think I always knew what unions were historically. I knew what they did. I knew what they were about. And this opportunity came about, and I said, I'm going to do this.
Wow, 17 years. That is commendable. That's a long time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Felicia?
Well, I was with my agency maybe 2 or 3 years, and I was walking across the floor, and I heard one of the senior employees state a dollar amount that we had in our finances. And she was there for 20, at that time, for approximately 20 years. And she said, that's all the money we ever had. So that got me kind of curious. I like Tony, I heard about unions, but I didn't really participate in the union. I always thought unions were doing right by its members. So I never felt concerned that I really needed to participate. But her comment got me curious, which got me started going to union meetings. And I saw a very large disconnect and a gap in communication, and union participation had been very low or almost not existing. And so I wanted to be the change I wanted to see. So that prompted me to run for president. And I'm currently in my 3rd term as president.
Okay, congratulations. And Sabrina?
Okay. I became a union member when I started working for the district government, and Beverly Neal asked me to come to a union meeting. It was like a union meeting on a lunch hour, and we ran down to H Street, 645 H Street. And at the time, Shirley, I think her name was Tyner, was the president. And she was very, very forceful woman and kind of rude in a way, but she was just letting them know who she was and everything. And so from then on, I just started going to just getting involved with the union. But I come from a background where my mother and father were always pro-union, and my mother just loved Josh Williams. Josh Williams was like a household name. And she would say Josh Williams came to the Library of Congress, and he walked around and told them they ain't gonna give us those. We're not gonna be punching in on no time clock. And just how it was always something about Josh Williams, and she was always going to rallies for that and stuff, because the Library of Congress was very, very racist organization. I don't know what they like now, but it was very racist. And that was back in the 60s, where she was so enthused about Josh Williams. But then I got a chance to meet Josh Williams. I thought he was very nice, but my opinion is a little bit different. I guess he got older and he wasn't as vibrant as he used to be. Because like anybody else, like all of us, after a while you say, kind of, this fight is kind of hard. Let me find a little bit easier path to go. But then, you kind of come back and try to help the people. But it's like, you just feel like, I almost feel like just fighting. I mean, physically fighting because you can't get your way, But, that's how I became involved when Beverly Neal, asked me to come to a meeting.
Thank you. So what would you say is different now for women in labor than from the first time you became involved?
It's interesting you ask that question. Honestly, for me, nothing. I have not had, as far as women in labor, I've seen women who have led and not had as difficult time. I think your difficulty comes in with, I'm not sure if it's a woman or if it's a personality issue. Sometimes some personality and grouping of people want to keep it closed. They want to keep an organization closed. So sometimes it's a group of men who want to keep it closed and only let in certain women. And then sometimes it can be women who want to keep it closed. But I think as far as leadership at the very top, very top, maybe what I've seen different is they do have a woman who's head of AFL-CIO. But up until then, it has always been men. And still even now, the majority of leadership at the top of the international, the large, at the very top, there's still men. I think her name is Liz Schuler. I think she may be the only woman leading a large international union, but it's still very male dominated. As far as the locals, that's that's a different question. Locally, we have a lot of women who are leading. And I'm not sure if that has to do with the profession or the nature of the women, like on this interview, the nature of the women and willing to step up, and do something. We do have our fair share of women in leadership, as far as the locals are concerned. But I would say, I can say this, with the council 20, AFSCME Council 20, someone pointed out to me, and I didn't realize this, I may have been the first female president
That's right.
of the council.
Is that right? Wow.
Right.
Somebody pointed that out to me. I didn't realize that. Somebody said, Tony, I think you may have been the first female president of the council. So that was like 2017, 2015. So just to give you an example, the council has been around a minute. So it's changing, but it's not a great turnover. But I think Sabrina says something very, very honest, is that it can wear you out. So we stay and we do, but sometimes the people come behind us after seeing us. I think they say, oh, okay. So.
Thank you, Antoinette. Thank you, Antoinette. Felicia.
Well, I really don't have a lot comparison from the position from where I sit. When I started attending the council meetings, I was happy to see that there were more women presidents around the table. And since I've been in this seat, I've seen more women appointed to the president roles. which I'm really happy to see. I think women bring a different approach, probably. Most of us are more, we try to have a more open minded approach and try to find a better way to resolve matters instead of like beating our chests, but it's a challenge too, being a female in this role, dealing with city officials, dealing with management. I see a different approach with them, and that's a challenge for me. But I just wish I had something else to compare it to, because my predecessor was male, and but I do see the differences that having a female president for my members have led quite a few other women to join the union and take on stewardship roles.
Okay, that's a very
Good.
good, insightful thought process, because most people may not look at it like that. So that's a good way. That's a good thing to notice, that people are watching, and
Hmm.
women do tend to join more organizations when a woman is in the lead role, because I think they feel that they compare themselves.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's a very good comparison. Chastity.
Well, I've been around at Council 20 for 26 years. And so I've seen a lot of come and I've seen a lot of go, right? And so when you say, what have I seen changed in women? I have to just really be honest, right? This, what I saw taking place when I first came into the organization was like Miss Tony said, a male dominated position, right? A male dominated organization, a boys club, sort of say, is what they would refer to it as. Um, those days are since faded away. And there may be some boys clubs, but women have taken a seat at the table. And we've taken a seat with a firm assertion that we can do what the boys do, and just as good. You know, um, Even the leadership in the city is run by a woman now. So, we can do things we can have conversations that the boys can't have, you know. And so I think that not only does it set a standard now, because I remember back in the day, the women we did have some women presidents on our board, but the women were kind of always ushered towards the women's committees and, things of that nature, financial positions, but our recording secretaries, that's where you would see the women. And now you see the women, like Miss Tony said, Miss Tony was the first elected woman president of District Council 20, elected in 2014,
Thank
and
you.
so yeah, and did us proud because she came in with a strong assertion that she could run with the boys, and she took no junk, you know, and I think that's what's needed now, because as time progresses, we are setting a standard for folks behind us. Like I said, when I came into the council, I was 19 and I knew nothing about unions. Definitely didn't have any examples of women in union leadership. And now here we are, 2024, and we're paving the way for a whole different generation of women leaders, that we have to be mindful about the example that we set.
Oh, thank you. Sabrina.
Okay. Well, I think, I've seen a little change in the women's roles in unions, but what makes me really sad is that men are not receptive of women's roles as being leaders. And I still see that they have a hard problem in dealing with a woman, especially if you're strong, you're opinionated, and you're not getting them coffee or something like that, and trying to play up to them. That's what I saw. Now I know when I sat around the council table, a lot of people thought I was angry, mad, or whatever it was. I don't know. But my thing is I saw something that needed to be changed. And it seems like a lot of times men like to keep the same a good old boy thing going on, and it should have been changed because you see what's going on in the government now. I mean, working for the district government, of how things have just gotten way out of hand, even with the even with a woman at the top, because I think that she's controlled by men. I really do. It's controlled by someone, because I think that she's not the the woman that you think of in the past, like a Barbara Jordan, Maxine Waters, or somebody like that, strong. But that's my opinion. But I just think they still don't have, men don't have that respect for women when they're at the top. You have to, kind of be strong, forceful, and then at the same time, you got to come back and say, well, maybe I better be a little gentle because I want something, because that's how their minds are, you know. So I mean, sorry, Roger, but I'm just saying my opinion of it, and that's what you do, you kind of like, but I'm a type that I'll do that for a second, but it's going to naturally come back, and I'm going to naturally just say what I have to say, and that's it, because I mean, maybe I don't see it like other women see it. I just see, I just don't see a man control. I mean, I just don't understand a man controlling everything. I just, I mean, I've seen them control, but it's like, oh, they're like boys. They had to be told to pick up their clothes, do this, do that. What make them want to be head of anything? After mama had to tell them everything, and that's how I felt, you know. So that's how I always look at them. I said, I always look at men sometimes when they trying to take control. I said, this mother probably had to tell them precious too.
I gotta jump in here for 1 minute.
Okay.
Fayelle, is that, I'm saying that right? Now, I want you to understand, when I was president, Sabrina was vice president. Now, imagine what the head of this Council 20 would look like and what it was going through. I just loved it. I just loved it. Oh, jeez.
Only imagine.
Yep.
I'd have had some flashbacks and memories just sitting here. Oh, Jesus.
Because,
oh, but it was good though. It really was good.
It was good. It was
good. We could count for every penny, dime, nickel. We could count for everybody having a fair opportunity to do things in the council. I gotta say that. But can you imagine? Because Sabrina would bring it on home. I had to say that. I love it. I'm smiling now.
But I just hope men will understand women, and especially Black women. The reason why we're the way we are, a lot of us, is because from the jump, when we got over here, you took the man away from us. Mm-hmm. So you got to defend yourself. You have to learn how to defend. Although I had a loving father, a father that picked me up from work every day, took me to work, and brought me and took me back home, because he didn't want me to walk almost a mile to work. He thought that was too much. My father always was always around. And even when I said I could do stuff myself, I said, well, I can do that. He says, I know you can, but I want to do it for you. And that's what made me say, that's a man. See, these men today, they see you can do it. They're not going to say, well, they're going to say, well, just let her do it. She got her own money, let her pay for it. That's how some of them feel. So, but when did you know what a man is, and actually I had my father around me for all my life. I mean, all his life until he died, and for him to take me to work for 15 years, I mean, I really appreciate that. And then that's why I'm not really hard on men. I can be real sensitive about all what they go through, but when it comes around to that union table, that's a whole different thing, because you got it's like a fight. You got that right.
Put that union hat on. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Nope, you're not gonna get away with just doing anything to the members, or wanting little. I mean, just their thought pattern sometimes confuses me. But then I understand it. I understand why they want to push us out the way because they never had that chance. Sometimes you got to think about that. You know, they never they especially when it comes to black men, they have never been. They're the only man in the world that has not had the opportunities like the other men have had. You got to think about that. And that's why sometimes I'll just back off. I just say, I'm not going to go real hard because I know they want to be heard. And here comes a woman like Tony, in there, ready to fight and pushing them aside. That's going to hurt them.
Right.
That's going to hurt them.
Right, right. If you had to pick one achievement that was made by women in labor that you are thankful for, what would you say that is?
Women in and of itself, even before my generation, because that they got a seat at the table. The women in the garment industry, that was women. They organized a union so that women could be treated fairly, and they pushed for the child labor laws. So going all the way that far back, watching those women put that together was just phenomenal. So the fact that they knew they needed to have a seat at the table, they went on and took the seat and probably built the table. So knowing that it's not a new phenomenon that women are in the union.
Thank you, Antoinette. Alicia?
Well, as I stated, I was not active, period, in the union. I've been with DC government for over 30 years. My first um, uh, job with DC government as an adult was as a police officer. I wasn't involved in the union at that time. It wasn't until I got into my second round here working with DC government is when I got involved. So I really didn't pay any attention to history, but to give thanks to, there are two women that I would definitely give thanks to helping me in my role. And the first would be Darnese Shirley. Um, because, there was a male president for over 20 years. He didn't welcome me into this role. Darnese was the one who educated me on coming to the council to get informed, to learn more about what the union is about. And the second person I would give kudos to is Karen Morgan. I really appreciate her as being a staff rep. She helped me tremendously. Her experience in labor for many years up in New York. She was not stingy with her information and wanted me to succeed in this role. So it's truly no I in team. And with both of them, although there could be times where we disagree, but we disagree respectfully of each other's opinion. And the next day is like, how can I help you? So those are the two that has really helped shape me.
Sabrina?
Well, I'm trying to think about. I just saw being in the union. That even meeting, like I told you, the first time that I met, when I went to the meeting with Beverly Neal, she was a very forceful woman, and I think Beverly had about 4 or 5 children at the time, and she was pro union, and she didn't back down off of anything. And just meeting someone, even the first president that was there was that I met was Shirley Tyner, and that was interesting to me to see a really um, woman like Shirley that did not bite her tongue for anybody. So, I have to say that meeting those two women at that time was very very instrumental for me to want to be a part of the union.
Okay, thank you. Chastity?
Well, I was going to go with Rosie the Riveter, like Miss Tony
Yeah.
said, and those women in that time historically. But when I think about District Council 20, I think that we've had a number of women come in and, take their stance at their board table. Watching all of these women, all of the women, Miss Tony, Miss Sabrina, Beverly Neal, Lucille Washington,
Oh,
some
yeah.
of the greats,
Mhm.
watching them in their roles and how they dealt with the men who, like Miss Sabrina said, the men did not want the women there. They want you to sit back and not say anything. Sit back and look pretty. Watching these women and Miss Felicia too handle your business, that's opened up so many doors for me. It's allowed me to know that my voice should never be silenced for anyone, not because of my gender, not because of my position, and or anything else, for any other reason. I've learned to take a strong stance and speak firmly and assertively for whatever it is that I believe in. And I think the women of District Council 20, and I just named a few, have made a huge difference in someone who was watching for so many years, silently watching. And that's what we should be striving to do for the others who are behind us. So when I came in 1997, I was trying to find myself, and I think that everything happens for a reason, right? God puts you in places where you're needed and where you can grow. I'm grateful that I was put at Council 20 because I was able to grow into a woman that I am proud of. I can say that I am proud of, and District Council 20 has made me into that woman. I was always told as a child to walk in my excellence, right? Didn't understand what that meant until I watched you guys, you women, right? And I aspired to be like y'all. I saw the things that you did. I saw the stuff that you took. I heard the comments. I heard the conversations, and I had my own struggles at the council as well. But it's not where we start, it's where we finish, and the legacy that we leave behind. And that is why, I've taken all of this stuff in, and I have promised myself that I'm going to walk in my excellence, and so I'm starting as the newly elected president of the DC chapter of CBTU. I am going
Congratulations!
thank you so very much.
That's
I
nice.
am going to live in this.
Congratulations!
Thank you, yeah, thank you. I want to be the pride, I want to live so that people can say, well, when I take President Melvin's job, I want y'all to say from Council 20,
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that is
Thank
really
you.
nice.
And
Thank
I think this is a good time seeing what Chastity has now stepped into. It's really important to say there's leadership and then there's backup. Chastity has been there consistently enough to be the backup. Because the thing with any organization, the local level, the presidents change. At the council, whether they want it or not, there was change. Okay? But you also need consistency. And Chastity provided that consistency. And at the same time, she worked very hard at practicing. She could almost be, we call it, she could fade into the woodwork when she needed to. Okay? And there were times she needed to do that in order to get the work of the council done and support who was there. Because as she said, she heard a lot, she saw a lot. Stuff would roll off her back like a duck. And I have to say, that takes a lot of admiration because I was not that good at letting stuff roll off my back. I was going to be Tony very much like Sabrina. Confronting, it's on. And she would sometimes And now that you realize it, they're not actually gonna be a role model for us, because we'd be like, okay, woosah, woosah.
Do that.
So I wanted her to know that.
Thank you.
So speaking of leadership, what would you say a woman needs to be a strong leader in the labor movement? I'll start with Sabrina this time.
Oh, okay. I guess you gotta have courage to do it, and like you gotta have the fight in you, and you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta think that that you best thing, that you know what you're talking about, and that and just don't back down. And or either if you're wrong, say you're wrong, hear people's opinions, try to think it over, that type of thing. But you have to be strong, and like you gotta have courage to do it, because even being a labor leader, you are faced with, especially you're going against the management. You don't know when they're going to try to get rid of you. You got to be always checking your back. Making sure you doing all your work, doing everything, and still, because like that, you can't talk trash and the work's not done. You got to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's how I just say you got to have courage, and like you got to believe. I mean, I'm trying to think of a time where I ever felt fearful. And I don't think I felt fearful
I'm with you.
at all, because I believe when you're fighting for people, that you have to know that you want to fight for them and make sure that they're okay. And then you got to think that I was the type of person growing up. I wasn't like this at all. I was a child that cried a lot, and I was a child that I was very sensitive. I was very shy, and I didn't want to make waves at all. But then something happened, and somebody did something to me, and I just think I just went off and just told them off, or whatever it was. It was when I was an adult, and after that I wasn't going to be pushed around. And then when I see where people are pushed around, it just hurts me inside. I try to talk to them. You know how you try to give people courage? Just do it and see how you feel. Because after you do it, you might not feel fearful, but then I understand they're fearful, and I just say, don't worry about it, and I'll try to make sure I help you. So you gotta have that. You gotta have that courage to do it.
So would that be the same advice you would give younger women that are starting out in the labor movement?
Yes, yes, I would tell them that you have to be careful, because I go like when you think about, and when I think about Bob Marley's song, and it's in the song he says, "My fear is my courage." The fear of if you don't do it, what's going to happen if you don't? They're going to come after you even more. You know, you got to always think, whenever they come after someone, or you stand up, whenever you stand up for anything, somebody's going to come after you. Somebody's going to challenge you. So that you gotta have that courage there. You know. So that's the main thing.
That's the main thing. Thank
The
you.
main thing, to have the courage, and then the intellect to carry it out.
Definitely that.
Mhm.
So, Felicia, I'm just going to combine the two questions because they do go so well together. What would you say it takes to be a strong woman in labor leader? And what would you say to young women starting out in the labor movement?
I think women need to be ready and okay to go against the populace. The doing what's popular isn't always what's doing what's right. And so I fit quite comfortably in going against the populace and the backlash that comes with it. To echo what Sabrina says, have the courage, be not afraid. A lot of where we are today is how we were brought up. And so, you know, I was a competitive athlete. I I looked at it that there was no male I couldn't fight and beat their behind. That's how I look at it, and I bring that same mindset in this arena. That, you know, dealing with a lot of male um, officials, that I will not be ignored. I would kick down whatever door I need to get relief for my members. And if that includes dragging you while I do that, that's what I'll do. But I will do whatever I can to improve the working condition for our members. As for young ladies wanting to come into this position, I will encourage them to be strong, be well versed, well read, know your information, and more importantly, like I tell my shop stewards, don't look at cases based on how they were won. Look at them based on how they were lost. That's where
Right.
your information,
Mhm.
that's where you
That's
gain
right.
strength.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I make sure that I'm available to mentor them along the way. I'm very committed, and those are the type of characteristics I would like to see them
Mhm.
bring into this role.
Mhm.
Chastity.
I think that today in the labor movement, it takes tough skin to be a woman leader, because we do have so many adversities. You know, we are up against so many challenges. We have to prove ourselves over and over again, regardless of our wins, you know, our what we bring to the table. So it takes tough skin to be successful in the labor movement. I would tell a young woman coming into this organization, to be diplomatic. There's more than one way there's only one way to eat an elephant, and you have to take small bites, right?
Mhm.
And that woman would need a strong support system. I would tell her to
Mhm.
lean on her support system.
I think that Wayne can attest to that because even though he's gone, I harass him all the time. So yeah,
Yes, yes.
that support system.
Mhm.
And Antoinette, you will finish us off.
Oh,
You want me to repeat the question?
I got it.
Okay. All right.
All of my fellow leadership sisters have basically said the things that any young person coming along who is a woman needs to do, but even currently, any woman who wants to take a leadership role in the union. I come from a household that's predominantly female. I come from a larger family that's predominantly female. But I remember as a very young girl, my mother said this: people only do to you what you allow them to do. Now, what she told that to this child for, I don't know, but I have practiced it and kept it in my head at all times. So all the things that have been said, okay, come into practice as I run that mantra through my head. The other thing I want to say is everyone spoke to, you got to know your stuff. Whatever your stuff is, know it, be able to back it up, and they say, and be 10 toes down when you know your stuff. You have to be knowledgeable.
Right.
If you're not knowledgeable in whatever you're doing, whether it's parliamentary procedure, whether it's the contract, whatever it is, you must be knowledgeable. And last but not least, yes, you must have a support system. You have to have a grouping, whether it's a support system in the people you work with, out of your officers, whether support system at home, whether support system with your besties. You have to have a place where you feel safe, because that becomes your support system, because you too must be able to dump. And you too must be able to listen. And when someone's talking to you, you know that when they say it, they are truly having your best interest at heart.
Yes.
So that's what I would say to any young person coming along. I would also say that to any woman who wants to be, and like I said, in union leadership, and get yourself, if you can, a mentor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ladies, this has been such an awesome time spent, well spent. And I'm so glad that you all made the time through battling schedules and trying to get everybody on the same page. But this has really been an awesome experience. And I can't wait to have others hear your words of wisdom. And hopefully it can touch someone in a way that allow them to be the leaders that they're supposed to be.